coverage, though?
Yeah. But that's typically harder, I think, the zones like for quarterbacks. I'm gonna say they made a bad decision. They should have got Shedeur Sanders. And maybe I was looking at tape because he's not bad. Jaxson Dart's not a bad quarterback. And you're comparing him to Josh Allen. It makes sense. I want a guy like Josh Allen too. Like every team wants that. Until you really watch him, he looks nothing like Josh Allen. Where at? Arm strength? They not in the same class.
No.
And then we keep talking about all this, like this mobility and scramble and all that. Like, he don't run like Josh Allen.
Giants considering trading up for a quarterback, Jaxson Dart, later in the first round. Bad businesses tend to overcompensate for previous mistakes and reach. So the idea the Giants now think Jaxson Dart is the dude for the future in New York. Let me just ask you this. You ever notice that a lot of the quarterbacks that don't make it, you weren't paying a lot of attention to in college and they suddenly got really hot?
What if I told you the New York Giants might have just thrown away their future on draft night? While Shedeur Sanders and one of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks in years sat waiting, the Giants made a bold move and passed. Instead, they went all in on Jaxson Dart, a risky prospect with flashes of potential, but none of Sanders' consistency. Now, just weeks later, that decision is already aging like milk. Reports out of OTAs are raising serious red flags. Coaches are questioning the pick, and even NFL legends are calling it a disaster in the making. Did the Giants just ruin their next 5 years with one bad call? Or is this all just premature panic? Let's break it down. The moment the Giants picked Jaxson Dart over Shedeur Sanders, it felt like a move made out of fear, not strategy. And the backlash didn't take long. Former players, analysts, fans, even legends like Tom Brady and Michael Irvin couldn't believe what they were seeing. And now, just a short time into off-season workouts, the regret is already bubbling to the surface in New York. From the beginning, this didn't feel right. Dart wasn't lighting up college football the way Sanders was. Shedeur had proven himself against top-tier talent, showing poise in the pocket, pinpoint accuracy on deep balls, and leadership you can't teach. Meanwhile, Dart had flashes, yes, but lacked consistency. So why did the Giants take such a huge...
The roster right now is not good enough to keep their jobs for another year. They're going to lose a bunch. And Jaxson Dart is not a tantalizing enough prospect for everyone to want to see it through. So they're not going to say, oh, why don't you stay on and develop these guys? So then you get the worst thing you could possibly get, which is a regime change in the middle of a rookie quarterback's contract when the rookie isn't anointed as the chosen one, and then things get lost. That's why I don't like it from time to time.
NFL. That's the question everyone's asking now, and the early signs aren't helping. Reports from Giants OTA sessions have painted a picture that fans were hoping wouldn't be real. Accuracy issues, shaky reads, and a clear lack of command in the huddle. It's becoming more obvious by the day. Dart might not be ready for the NFL spotlight. One source close to the team even admitted that members of the coaching staff are already questioning if they backed the wrong quarterback. And here's where it gets worse. Dart was hyped up during the pre-draft process. Some even dared to compare him to Josh Allen. Let's stop right there. Comparing Jaxson Dart to Josh. Allen is like comparing a matchstick to a blowtorch. Sure, they're both quarterbacks, but that's where the similarities end. Josh Allen has elite arm strength, crazy mobility, and that it factor. Dart, he's still figuring out the basics, and it shows. Now, let's talk Shedeur Sanders. The guy has been cool under pressure since day one. Whether it's threading needles between defenders or escaping collapsing pockets with ease, he doesn't just play quarterback, he owns it. And yet, somehow, he slid through the first round untouched. Michael Irvin called it unbelievable, and he's not wrong. For a league that supposedly values leadership and production, leaving Shedeur on the board felt like negligence.
And the value we put on quarterbacks in this league, that's shocking that Shedeur Sanders did not get drafted last night. That's just, and asking me what was the reason.
Irvin wasn't the only one stunned. Boomer Esiason didn't hold back either, straight up saying Dart isn't what NFL teams usually want in a quarterback. He even called Dart a mute QB, basically saying he doesn't have the presence or personality to lead a team. That's harsh, but if it's true, it's devastating for a franchise like the Giants, who've been desperate for a QB identity for years. And then there's LeSean McCoy. His reaction? Total confusion. He flat out said Dart isn't in the same class as Josh Allen. Not in arm strength, not in movement, not in presence. And again, McCoy circled back to Shedeur, pointing out that Sanders had a way higher ceiling and could have brought the kind of calm, confident leadership the Giants desperately need, but instead they went chasing a comparison that never held. Weight to begin with. What makes this all worse is that the Giants didn't just let Sanders slip, they actively traded up to get Dart. That's not a casual move. That's a statement. That's a franchise saying, this is our guy, and betting the house on him. And already it's looking like a misstep that could cost jobs. Even Tom Brady jumped into the conversation, not to trash Dart, but to lift up Shedeur. Brady revealed that he personally texted Sanders after the draft, telling him not to be discouraged. And when one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time goes out of his way to give you a pep talk, that says a lot. Brady reminded him that he himself was drafted 199th overall and still went on to become a legend. It was a message of hope, yes, but it also carried a subtle undertone. You deserved better. Colin Cowherd didn't mince words either. He called the Giants' decision a classic case of overcompensation. According to him, this was a franchise trying way too hard to fix years of quarterback failures in one flashy move, and ignoring common sense in the process. His argument, the Giants didn't draft Dart because of what he is. They drafted him because of what they hope he becomes, and that kind of thinking almost never works out. And now, here we are. The season hasn't even started, and questions are flying. Will Dart develop fast enough? Can the coaching staff support his growth without sacrificing wins? And what if Sanders, who's already being praised for his work ethic and raw talent, ends up balling out for another team? You can almost feel the pressure mounting inside the Giants facility. Look, everyone wants their rookie QB to be the next big thing. But this situation feels different. It's not just skepticism, it's dread. Because if Dart doesn't shine, and soon, the media won't just blame the player. They'll blame the front office, the scouts, the head coach, maybe even ownership. And let's be honest, New York media doesn't go easy. They go for the jugular. So here's where we're at. The Giants passed on a proven leader with NFL pedigree, elite accuracy, and calm under pressure, and took a risk on potential. That potential is already looking shaky, and the guy they passed on. He's gaining fans, support, and credibility by the day. And that brings us to the question everyone's now asking. Did the Giants just hand another team their future franchise quarterback? And while Giants fans are trying to stay optimistic, there's no sugarcoating what's already happening. Every underthrown pass, every broken play in practice, every hesitation from Jaxson Dart is being picked apart. The whispers are getting louder, and they're not just coming from the outside. Sources inside the building say some staff members are already debating whether Dart is the guy or just another name on the long list of failed experiments. Remember when Daniel Jones was supposed to be the answer? Yeah, we've seen this movie before. The Giants bet big on a quarterback who wasn't ready, gave him the keys, and now they're still paying for it. So to watch them make what looks like the exact same mistake again, just with a different name on the jersey, is baffling. And what makes this even more painful, Shedeur Sanders is still out there, chip on his shoulder, laser focused, and ready to make the teams that passed on him pay. He's not sulking, he's not blaming anyone, he's working, grinding, and the moment he steps onto an NFL field, you can bet the comparisons will be instant. Every highlight Sanders creates will be matched side by side with whatever Dart is doing in New York. That spotlight, it's only getting hotter. Analyst Pete Prisco was blunt about it. He gave the Giants a C- for the pick, and not just because Dart needs time. It's because he thinks the Giants don't have that time. New York is a win-now market. Fans aren't gonna wait 3 years to find out if their quarterback might be good. They want results. And if Dart can't deliver, this could snowball fast. Coaching changes, front office firings, maybe even a total rebuild. That's the danger of drafting a project when you're in a pressure cooker like the NFC East. This division doesn't hand out free wins. You've got Philly, Dallas, and even Washington making power moves. The Giants? They're over here hoping their rookie QB can just survive training camp. And let's talk about that Josh Allen comparison one more time, because it needs to be addressed. Josh Allen was a once-in-a-generation physical talent with a cannon for an arm and the ability to bulldoze defenders. He also had a full developmental plan built around him in Buffalo. Dart? He's already being asked to compete, lead, and carry a franchise that's been quarterback starved for nearly a decade. That's not a fair comparison. It's wishful thinking dressed up as scouting. LeSean McCoy called it out. He said Dart doesn't have the arm strength, the legs, or the presence to match Allen. He flat out said the Giants reached, and not by a little. He wasn't just confused by the pick, he was shocked. And he's not the only one. Social media lit up after the draft, with fans wondering how Shedeur Sanders, with all his proven production, his football IQ, and his pedigree, got passed over in favor of a maybe. Let's not forget, Shedeur is the son of NFL Hall of Famer Deion Sanders. Football isn't just in his blood, it's in his DNA. He grew up around greatness, and it shows in the way he carries himself. Calm under pressure, focused, humble, but fierce when it counts. The guy lives for big moments, and the Giants said, nah, we're good. Colin Cowherd went even further. He didn't just criticize the pick, he called it a cover-up. In his words, the Giants weren't drafting talent. They were trying to hide their past failures with a flashy, emotional pick. And you know what? It feels like that, like a panic move. But like a team that's been burned so many times at quarterback, they convinced themselves this one had to work without actually proving he could. And here's where things get really uncomfortable for the Giants. What happens if Shedeur Sanders ends up in a system that actually fits him? What if he ends up with a coach who believes in him, a team that builds around him, and a fan base that gives him room to grow? If he blows up, and all signs point to that being very possible, the Giants will be the poster child for draft day regret. You can't help but feel like this isn't just about a bad decision, it's about a pattern. The Giants have been swinging and missing at quarterbacks for years, and while other franchises are building stability under center, the Giants are still hoping that this guy, this next name, will finally break the curse. But here's the truth, no one in that building wants to admit Shedeur Sanders could have been that guy, and they let him walk. Now the pressure is sky high. Jaxson Dart is under a microscope, and every snap he takes will be judged not just on its own, but against what Sanders is doing elsewhere. The media is watching, the fans are watching, the NFL world is watching, and if Dart stumbles, which he already is by multiple accounts, this won't just be a failed pick. It'll be a franchise-altering mistake. So let's ask the real question here. What does success even look like for Jaxson Dart at this point? Does he need to be a Pro Bowler to justify the Giants passing on Sanders? Does he need to lead them to the playoffs in year one? Because let's be honest, anything less is gonna feel like a disappointment now. That's the kind of pressure that destroys young quarterbacks. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders gets to play the underdog, the forgotten star, the guy every analyst says should have gone higher, and you better believe he's gonna use that as fuel. Every touchdown pass, every game-winning drive, every post-game interview, he doesn't need to say the Giants' name, but everyone will be thinking it. The worst part for New York? They can't undo it. The decision's made. The pick is in, and the countdown has already started. One quarterback is fighting just to stay afloat, while the other has the chance to become a superstar. Only one of them wears blue. The Giants. Fans. What now? Do you still believe Dart is the answer? Are you willing to be patient again? Or are we just watching history repeat itself in real time? Is this just another chapter in the long list of what could have been moments for this franchise? Because here's the reality. If Shedeur Sanders becomes the quarterback everyone thought he'd be, and Jaxson Dart keeps stumbling, this won't just be a bad pick. It'll be the pick we look back on for years as the moment the Giants fumbled their future. Let's see how this story plays out. Don't forget to subscribe for more unfiltered NFL drama and bold takes you won't hear anywhere else.